Good morning. It's very good to be here with you today. Now, there was one big change from last year to this year for me. Well, actually, two big changes. Firstly, in March of last year, I crossed the great divide in life that's marked with two numbers, 60. And I found out how true it is that when people say that inside every older person, there's a young person saying, "What happened?" You know. And secondly, I changed my title from CEO to Executive Chairman. Now, I still haven't figured out exactly what an Executive Chairman does. But I've decided to take full advantage of that and bend it to my own current passions in life, which certainly includes Pivotal. And as you know, over the last several months, I've had the opportunity to interact with many of you, going out and, as I like to say, kissing the rings of our customers, which is a very important thing to do and something that is great because we have a great set of customers. But before I get into talking about that big word that everybody puts in inverted commas, culture, I thought that actually, since my role now is actually on the board of directors, to sort of give you a perspective first of the journey from the perspective of our investors and the people on our board. You may not realize it, but we're actually very privileged to have a truly great and very supportive set of directors on a company. And some of you may know that when you have a fractious board or an unsupportive board, it really makes life miserable. And we have the opposite, that when you have a very supportive board, actually, it really makes the journey that much easier and that much more satisfying. So the good news is we have on our board people, all of whom have experience actually building companies and doing things and running organizations, running from folks who have built companies in the IT space. Recently, as you know, Bill Green, who was the CEO of Accenture for many years and incredibly respected in the industry, and has a Rolodex like no one other in the world. And he could not be more excited about Pivotal. He's actually like a little boy with a new toy. And I know that he always rails on Bill and says, "You guys are not charging enough. You should be charging more for what you do. What you have is pure gold." You know, all the way through to folks like Jamie Missick, who sits on our board, who was the deputy director of the CIA, and I'm sure has a Rolodex of a different nature, one that's also useful, but one that we have to be careful when we call upon her to ask, how do we get to somebody, because she probably does know. But most importantly, there's still tremendous belief in the board about the journey that we're on and the importance of taking that journey. Andy was talking earlier that actually we started working on Pivotal formally 4 years ago now. At the beginning of 2012, a group of us, including myself, made the first presentation to say, look, we need to do something different. At that time, we talked about it as the new IT, because we said, look, there's going to be a new IT, because people are going to need to derive and generate business value by doing things in a different way. And that fundamental premise has only strengthened with time. I think it's becoming more and more apparent that we are moving into an era of a new IT. And this concept that Gartner likes to use of bimodal IT, where they talk about you're going to have to learn how to do two things simultaneously. It's not that you can walk away from your past. You've still got to run those applications that are, keeping the lights on in your business, but you're going to have to learn how to behave differently and how to deliver value differently and how to relate to your customers differently and ultimately how to get money from different business models. And to do that, you need a new culture and a new technology base. And you're going to have to get those things living side by side for a while, but you need to be investing in the future. And I think that's the that's the benefit, that's the pool that we're now drawing, the success that we're starting to see as we go forward. And the board is very supportive of that and gets even more convinced of the mission that we're on. So we're great to have a great board and people who believe deeply in our mission and have been very supportive and patient investors in Pivotal and continue to want to basically support us. And when we go sit in the board meetings, they often say to us, look, don't shortchange yourself, don't cut corners here. Make sure you do it right, because this is so important as a foundation that they want to lay for the future. So I just thought I'd give you that perspective. The other thing is I continue to, and now I'm going to start switching to talk about that elusive word culture here. When I go out into the field with many of you and interact with our customers, and when I go out into the field, the most interesting part for me always is the drive back to the airport. Because once we've been in to talk to the customer and we've had the discussion, it's on that drive back to the airport that you actually start to hear what people really think. The daily mission has been accomplished, and then you start to hear what's on people's minds and what they're thinking about and what their challenges are. And the thing that always strikes me on those drives back to the airport is actually not the immediate issue that people are worried about. There always is something that they're worried about that they want to get to communicate to me, etc. But I'm always just struck by the tremendous quality of people that we have in our organization. And there's some good and the bad there, because good is, I'm going to say, tremendous quality. The bad, none of us are spring chickens anymore here. A lot of us have got significant experience in the industry, and often most of the people I'm interacting with out in the field have a very interesting history before coming to Pivotal. They've worked in different environments. They've often worked for some of the large existing companies, whether it be Hewlett-Packard or IBM or EMC, whatever. And they bring that experience with them. And I think that that's incredibly important, because the most important thing that we need to be doing is being thoughtful about what we're doing. All of you have seen significant movies up to date. And now's our opportunity to bring all of that learning, all of that basic sense of what really is important, what's important to do right, and how to do it, and bring it to bear. And I think if we can be thoughtful and focus on capturing all of the experience that you have to date, all of you have seen good and bad. You've seen how things should be done. You've seen how things should not be done. And there's a huge opportunity to bring that to the table and contribute that to our community. And when you think about it and you look around yourself and you say, what an enormous opportunity we have to take a group of people who are competent, who believe in the mission, and really do something special. And this ties back to what Andy was saying, which is, I believe that satisfaction at the end of the day comes from being successful in an objective, monetary, industry position sense. It's very important to have actually delivered on the measurable milestones in terms of revenue, market share, impact on our customers, etc. But ultimate satisfaction comes from knowing that not only did we do that, but we did that in a way where others are happy for us to have done that, where others don't begrudge our success. all of you know that there are companies out there that are very successful, and people would just love to see them fail, because they have done it in a way that was basically all about how they could just take and accrete to themselves and not give back. There's nothing wrong with being successful if in doing so you're actually enabling the broader community, our customers, the ecosystem to be successful as well. And I think great companies are those companies where people say, we are really happy for them to have been successful because along the way, they actually gave more than they took. And I think you can apply that principle at almost every level of interaction. It's something that you can think about in the long term as we're working with customers, as we're structuring deals with them and saying, is it the way we're doing things going to really contribute to their success as well as our success? But also do that in our daily interactions. When you go to a meeting and you come out of that meeting and you just kind of take that silent mental step backwards and say, what did I contribute in that? How are the other participants in that interaction feel about what happened in that room? And I think that is actually very important to do, because I'm going to say a couple of things that those of you who know me have heard me say over and over again, but I believe in them deeply. So I'm going to continue to say them, which is culture is encoded in the small things in life, not in the big things. There are many organizations out there, if you go and look at their website, you'll find somewhere on their website the statement of what their culture is. And I can tell you it'll always be customer-oriented, innovation, will be listed down there on their culture. And then you look at that organization and you say, it's clear that they look at that slide once a year and then they put it away. And they go back to strangling the cat in the backyard afterwards. People culture is something that you have to think about in all the small things. It's the day-to-day things. It's basically how you interact with your fellows in the company, with outside the company, etc. And that feeling that you leave in other people's mouths after that interaction. So that's one thing to remember, which is basically culture starts in the small things in life and works out to the big things in life. Secondly, the other thing that all of you will have heard me say many times before, and I'm going to say it again, is just, I can assure you that every person in this room, every one of you sitting here today, won the lottery of life. Because I can assure you that for every one of us sitting here today, there are hundreds, maybe even thousands, of other people in the world who are better qualified, smarter, harder working than us, but for reasons of fate and history, we're here and they're not. Now, you can kind of look at that and say, well, okay, fine, what do I do about that? What you do about it is to realize that the opportunity that we have to live this the way we do, to work on what we work on, to work with the people we work with is a privilege. And when you think of it that way, then you take the experiences that we have seriously. There are so many reasons for us to take what we're doing seriously. First of all, it's a privilege to be able to work on things that are going to impact many companies across the world. The work that all of you are doing is going to have a massive impact on the success and capabilities and things that our customers can do. So you're doing something that's actually important. This is not about, launching the next, messaging app that will allow teenagers to constantly communicate with each other. You're going to do something that is actually going to have profound impact on whole industries, as indicated by the kind of partnerships we're building with our customers. Secondly, you have the opportunity to work with colleagues who are really great, tremendous experience, some of the best in the industry. I can assure you, you can find within Pivotal people who are very humble, but if you look at them, you realize that they are at the very pinnacle of their chosen professions. And you really are, basically, when you sit down with somebody like Onsi, who you saw speak yesterday, you're getting a master class from somebody who really is one of the very best at what he's chosen to do in life. So that's all these opportunities that are available to us. So on the one hand, we have tremendous privilege and opportunity here, but it should cause us to be thoughtful. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about, is taking that step backwards in everything we're doing and say, let's look at what we're doing and let's measure it against what we actually would like ourselves to be as opposed to what we actually are in daily life. So with that, just remember those two things, which is, we're privileged to be here, and at the end of the day, it's about giving more than we take.